Hello again, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Talia Hoffman, and I will be assisting Margie today. We're excited to have you all on. I just want to let you know that we mute you automatically on entry, and just in a minute, I'm going to unmute everyone. So please mute your phone. We are recording this webinar for everyone to be able to listen to afterwards. We want to make sure that the audio quality is as good as possible. At any time in the webinar, feel free to chime in either over the chat client, muting your phone and talking, and we'll certainly be answering questions as they come. I'm going to unmute everyone now, and please remember to mute your phone. I'm going to pass this on to Margie.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. I appreciate your time. We know everyone's really busy. Not just thank you for your time now, but thank you, more importantly, for your time judging. And as we go through the Innovation Fund, we, as you know, rely on all of you throughout the process, whether as an advisor or a judge, maybe a mentor later on. So thank you in advance for your attention and your time. So I'm Margie Nadeff. I am on the core team for the Innovation Fund. I believe Amy Nostrand is also on the call, so she might jump in with some input and ideas. As Talia said, this is informal. Unmute yourself, ask a question, or ask in chat. We want this time really to be for you to review the judging process, the timeline, and most importantly, to answer any of your questions. After this session, we will email everybody both these slides and your particular proposals you're going to be judging, and we will also send the recording of this webinar, mostly for those of you who are not on the call today, but if you find it particularly informative, you might want to listen to it again. That's a joke. Okay, so we have some folks who are judges from last year and some people who are new. So the process is the same. Some of the process is new. Those of you who did it last year, please feel free to chime in with tips, and I'm going to get going. So this page is just to kind of orient you and refresh your memory for the purpose of the fund. Obviously, it's foster innovation and collaboration across the university, and those areas there, obviously to reduce administrative burden and to enhance our ability to serve our faculty and students, and just as importantly, to engage our staff, right, to invigorate our employees. Similar last year, we're very grateful to President Faust for giving us another $100,000 to execute this year. As you know from last year, most of the proposals will be in the $5,000 to $15,000 range. We have held some money for an exceptional project in the $25,000 range. And new this year, you'll see the MVP, which I'll go to again, remind you what that is. We added that this year, which is a shorter, more experimental. That's up to $5,000, and that's a shorter time frame, as you can see there. The categories themselves, these broad categories, are the same as last year. We've screened everybody for eligibility, so the proposals you get are obviously only from eligible employees. This is a new kind of way to categorize the innovations. It's more organized the types of efforts. So applicants chose which type of innovation they were proposing. So convening, pilot, and scale types of projects we funded last year. We didn't necessarily categorize them that way, but they are all types of This MVP is new. You might remember from the January Hague, Mitch Weiss came and talked to us about this, introduced this concept of the minimum viable product, and it seemed to resonate with a lot of us, and we wanted to have something specifically that was more learning and experimental in nature, that was going to be a little less money, a little less time. So we did add that in. And categories are more really into ideas at different stages. So see that in the applications, that's something that's new. That's new this year, which hopefully will make it easier for you to discern the key elements of the proposals. We know from applicants, or a few applicants, that it was absolutely easier to fill out. They answer narrative form these questions, whereas last year they had just had 3 pages of information. This, we've targeted questions. So again, hopefully it'll be easier for you to review and judge the question here. And then selection criteria, which is key, obviously, to this webinar, are highlighted there, and I'll walk you through some of the screenshots from the Qualtrics survey. We'll be using Qualtrics again this year, which will capture all your feedback and average it. It makes it a lot easier for us to see which particular proposals rise to the top to be able to move forward into the finalist round, which, as you know, is the 14th session in the afternoon. A note about the proposals: while we ask these very targeted questions, the finalists will actually be asked to provide more details. Just in these proposals, there is not a budget. We're just asking how much about people need. There's not as much information about the team. We wanted to make it easier for people to put their ideas out there. Since this is innovation, we don't want it to be too burdensome. We do know that there's information missing from around that we will want to know from the finalists. So that will be an addition. As we choose the finalists, they will need to submit some additional information, again, around the budget, from the team, and around some scoping. And with respect to the select criteria, you'll see, again, there are very specific questions that you'll be asked to evaluate. At the bottom, that overall strength of proposal, that collective element is something we emphasized last year. Well, this year, given the financial climate of the universities, we're also emphasizing ideas that have potential for cost saving or potential for revenue generation. Any questions, please pop in chat function or unmute yourself and ask the question. This is an important slide. This is the flow, and the timing is coming up next. So here we are, right? We already screened. We have a total applicant pool of 30, which is, as you'll recall, or many of you will recall from last year, we had 92. So it's quite a bit lower, although we feel good about that number. We feel most of the schools are represented. We feel it gives people a higher chance of success. Last year we funded 9 proposals out of the 92, so a little less than 10% chance of getting your awarded. So with 30, a great pool. We read through it. There's a lot of great ideas, and folks have a higher chance. And we also, it'll be easier for us to shepherd those folks who don't get one. Last year, as you know, we tried to get that information out and have local schools or units, their applicants from their departments and their schools. This way, it'll make it a little bit easier to do that. So we're in the first round of judges, as you can see. You will each get 4 proposals, and each proposal will get 4 reads. Here, each proposal got 3 reads. Since we have a lower number, we can increase the amount of people who have read the proposal and judged the proposal. So we felt good about that. We've assigned a subject matter expert to each of the judge. Each proposal will have at least one subject matter expert judging it. I get all the data from everybody. We will have the Innovation Fund Committee, as we did last year, reach back out to the finalists, and they're also not moving forward to provide them with feedback and information. And then, very similar to last year, we're going to hold the second round judging in the afternoon of the Hague session. This year is on June 14th. I hope you have that on calendars. And we'll do something similar with respect to having the finalists make a presentation and have a Q&A with us, which worked well last year. Let me stop for a quick second. I know I didn't get into the meat of the actual judging, but I want to make sure nobody has any questions at this point. So if you do, again, please just unmute yourself or chat.
This is Katie Hope. Last year when I did the judging, one of the things that I struggled with a little bit was the idea of cross-school collaboration. And I think I may have weighted that more heavily than some of the other judges. one slide you said that's important as well as potential, cost savings or additional revenue, but I struggled a little bit with how much to weight those things as I evaluated the proposals.
So this year, I think the reason we wanted 4 judges is to help kind of equalize that if someone's a harder rater, an easier rater. But we see in a minute, Katie, the questions are slightly different this time. We don't have a specific question on collaboration. We have something to consider within the overall effectiveness. So we'll just wait 1 minute.
Okay.
We'll get to the specific in a couple minutes, the specific questions. And if it's not answered at that point, we'll pop back on and get into that in a little bit more detail. All right, we're ready to move on. Here's the timeline. As you can see, we're in that second box, the window, April 25th. We will be sending out your proposals this week in the next couple of days, so you'll be able to start judging them and doing your reviews. The deadline, you can see, that'll give the Innovation Fund Group a few days to organize and make sure we don't have to go back with any questions to some of the judges. We can figure out who the finalists are, and then we notify everybody that week of May 15th. Since we're asking the finalists to do a little bit more this year, in addition to the presentation, we wanted to give them, a good 4 weeks to prepare. So there's a shift in the timeline there. Then, as you'll see, we'll have a couple weeks afterwards, just about a couple weeks, to determine who the winners are and announce them. And like the projects will launch on July 1. So the timeline is similar. It's shifted a little bit. We have a little bit more time for the ding, which last year, so we learned from that, and we're giving the finalists a little bit more time to prepare as well. Okay, so here's really where you come in. Here's your role in this stage. Part of it, as it says there, is to sustain excitement and goodwill. So that's when the feedback comes in, particularly important. Questions you'll see really focus on impact, taking into account the type of innovation. So what that means is, again, we have ideas that are going to be at different stages. So they have less, like an experiment might have less impact than scale, but take into account the type of innovation somebody's asking for, and will their idea have impact, what they're outlining, would that have impact within that category? Getting each proposal on its own merits is to really judge each proposal independently, not rank within the 4 you have, but really take each on its own. Concerning, similar to last year when we asked you to please only move forward to the finalist round, a project you would really see happy to win. Last year we got a lot of really great feedback on this particular aspect. You will be asked, for those of you who didn't judge last year, to provide feedback in form to the applicants. One thing that you really liked about their proposal and one thing that you think would have made their proposal even stronger. And we provide that, so they'll get, 4 comments on the strength and 4 comments on something that could have improved. Here, as I said, we got a lot of feedback on that. People really appreciated the time you all took. Nose up, they said, I felt like showed that the judges really took the time to read it thoroughly, to really understand my idea, to think about my idea. So we're asking you all to do that again, and know that that is something that really has a lot of impact. It goes back to that sustaining the excitement and the goodwill of folks who took the time to put themselves out there and submit a proposal. And as I said before, the judging by May 10th.
Question?
Yeah, absolutely.
In terms of the feedback, because since you mentioned you really want us to focus on like one thing to make the proposal better, should the focus be on a project if you win it, execute it better, or do you feedback on how the proposal could have actually been better presented? Okay, all right. Yeah, okay, thank you.
I think that there's a question you'll see, like, would you recommend this proposal be moving forward? Yes or no? And if it's yes, you might want to provide that feedback to make this even stronger. I'm curious about X, Y, Z. But it's regardless of whether they're moving forward or not. It's really what kind of struck you, and it really depends on the proposal what that might be. If you by one of the members of the committee was thinking of writing, this is what I want to get across, we're happy to kind of walk people through that as well, because I know people want to give honest feedback, but they also, want people to walk away feeling good and not the most. They want, ideas about how to make this even better, even if they're going to try to pursue this idea outside of the fund. Because some might do that as well. They might go to their own unit, or they try to make some of it happen, what happen absent the funding. So any ideas along that line are real as well. I'm going to move on. Here's something learned last year, and you'll notice at the bottom there's other tips. So I'm curious. Many of you judged last year, or you've been part of other efforts that are similar, maybe the President's Challenge, or that you have feedback or advice for each other. But one of the big things, as we know at this large place, is often applicants are unaware of taking place in another part of the university. So if you know, hey, this idea, somebody's doing that someplace else, we don't want to duplicate efforts. We want to help connect people. So that's a big thing to look out for. Another reason why having a subject matter expert as one of the judges is helpful. This other piece, making sure that the folks who are putting their proposal forward are also the folks intending to do the work. A little bit harder to ascertain this year because we don't have the whole team blown out, but you can determine it from some of the how are they going to solve this problem, what are the outcomes they are expecting. I didn't see it as much this year in my brief skim through, but last year there were several proposals that were asking for another department to do the work, and obviously we're looking for the individual or the team that put forth the idea to be the ones to execute it as well. Of course, one-year project for most of them. The MVPs are 6 months. You want to make sure that what they're putting forth can be reasonably accomplished in a year. They're asking for about the right amount of money. They're move forward to the final round ideas you would be happy to see receive funding. And to earlier point into Katie's question, those ideas that are around connecting people across, collaborating, they have from different schools or different functions. We want to kind of give that a little bit more attention, as well as ideas that have that potential for the cost savings or revenue generation. It's all cost saving ideas than revenue generation, but which makes sense. And many other tips that you all might have. Those of you, again, who judged last year or have been part of other types of efforts, I'd love to hear your ideas, share with your colleagues, or anything that you have to add.
I don't think there's anything more to add that really covers it. I think people will find that each proposal is going to be different, and so, but get the hang of sort of looking at the lenses that we have in the criteria, and just use your best judgment. When I was judging last year, I was thinking, oh, I wonder if I'm doing this right, or if I'm thinking about this correctly, and I'm sure judges were thinking that too. So do the best that you can, and just think that you're doing a good job thinking about it in your own way, because you all bring a different experience to reading each of these proposals. That's all I have to add.
All right, move on to the rubric that we're using. Might not be exactly legible, but I wanted to give you just a sense of how you would be filling this out. You can fill it out on your phone as well as on your desktop or your laptop. The phone, be mindful that there is going to be some typing with the comments. So that may or not be helpful. You can write the specific questions. The proposal highlights a problem moral solving. You know, some of the ideas might, this would solve a problem, but then that problem, given everything going on, might not be as important to solve as something else. So the problem more solving than the next one. It's an innovative approach. You can measure impact once it's implemented, and you can kind of see all of these go from one as low or weak or not strong to the high side as particularly strong on whatever dimension. And as we had said before, it will be at the average of the 4 judges. If you want to the next screen, you can see the next one. I can see here it's also quite short, right? So then just a couple more questions. The team, you know, can execute this within a year or the 6 months of MVP. These are overall the strength of this proposal. And Katie, this is where you're particularly taking into account that collaboration or the potential for cost savings. So this is qualitative. It is subjective. So again, to Amy's point, use your best judgment. You all have good judgment. I think we are sort of strong, really strong. Just drag that over, and again, 4 people look at it gives us a good sense in the average. Kind of final one, like, would you recommend moving this forward or not? Very broad. And then the next screen, you see, this is really where your feedback comes in. These first 2, hopefully we made it very clear that they're going to be shared verbatim. Of course, we're going to screen them. Should we screen them? There was nothing we needed to screen out, but just to be on the safe side, we're going to screen them. But again, here's the strength, like what I like most about the proposal. Here's an area for improvement, what I suggest or would like to see more of. This additional comments, that last box at the bottom, is not going to be sent to the applicant. This is more for those of us behind the scenes. Maybe something to say about, I didn't think that this of it was very strong, or there's anything you want to add in here that you think would be helpful for those of us on the committee. And also, there are additional pieces of information, like you want to reach out to X department to have them look at this too, because I believe they're doing something similar, but I'm not exactly sure. So anything that you think might be important for us to know, here's the place to capture it. And again, this is just for the committee's eyes. The applicants will not see this. And so hopefully it won't take long. It's 6 questions and those 3 open-ended comments. The email administrative innovation, you can always the question there, or you could call one of us. We listed us, our emails are there, but you can call us as well. You'll be in proposals from that administrative innovation account, again, along with the slides and the link to the recording if you want to listen to it. But again, that's more for folks who were not able to join us right now. So that's all I had, but I want to make sure that your questions are answered. So again, have any questions, you could either put it in the chat or you can unmute yourself, or you could just call me after. I'm going to be in my office for the next couple, for the next hour or so. If you have any questions, you could call me at 52134 if you'd rather do that. So we're all set. We don't have any questions. I said you should expect get your proposals in the next, certainly by the end of the week, but hopefully in the next day or 2. And thank you again for your time and for spending the time to do the judging. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Natalia.